Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate Day 471, Monday, June the 25th, 2018. Thank you so much for tuning in. Alrighty, we got some big stories today and some other things to cover here, as well as getting to Dumbass of the Week. It is Monday. Alrighty, this very first story is a pretty important story, and it comes to us from Paul Sperry, who's really been on fire the last couple days. And there's another thing today from Paul Sperry we'll get to in a moment. But let's get started right here. So Paul Sperry writes that the IG report contains an entire appendix, number 2, that was totally redacted from the report. It was labeled law enforcement sensitive. It is being reported that the appendix contains damaging information on Loretta Lynch. So he gives the page, I forget what it is, I think it's 94. That's from memory. I didn't write that down, but if I remember correctly, he's pointing out what page this is on, where it shows that there's 2 appendixes. So you get the first appendix, but then the second appendix, number 2, is just gone. It's just not even there. Okay, so it's obviously been taken out completely. And so I guess Paul Sperry noticed that, and to whoever he spoke with, I don't know, but he's come to the conclusion that it does have something to do with Loretta Lynch, and probably something very damning for Loretta Lynch, because it's been taken completely out. I assume that some members of Congress will notice that and will probably try to get that, and I'm sure they will if they want it, and I'm sure they do. So we know that Lynch testified that she never met or spoke with anyone in the Clinton campaign during the time that the so-called Rotten Reverend Clinton server investigation was going on. But the Judiciary Committee has a document, which they have had for over a year, which shows that Loretta Lynch advised the Rotten Reverend Clinton's campaign aide, Miss Renteria, that the Justice Department would not push too deeply into the Rotten Reverend Clinton's email server. So on one hand, she's saying that she didn't involve herself with anybody in the Hillary Rotten Clinton campaign during the time that the so-called investigation was going on about her server, despite the fact that the Senate Judiciary Committee actually has documents. One specific document where it shows Loretta Lynch communicating with Ms. Renteria, explaining to her that the Justice Department is not going to push too deeply into the Rotten Reverend Clinton's email server investigation. And they've had this document since about this time last year, so about a year. So this is not even new. So I guess this is where Paul Sperry is thinking that possibly this appendix number 2 may have something to do with this. It may have something to do with some communications that Loretta Lynch may have had with the Clinton campaign at the time that they were doing the investigation, which would not surprise any of us, would it? She just lies and lies. How many times did she say that she couldn't recall? I think it was like 74 times or something. Yeah, Loretta Lynch just doesn't answer questions. So, none of these people. In fact, I think we have to kind of be realistic here. Peter's been stroking us, Comey, Lynch, Page. These people are not going to sit there, even when you have the evidence right in front of their face, and show them the evidence in front of their face. They're still not going to admit to their crimes. They're going to deny it even after they've been found guilty overwhelmingly by a jury and are being hauled off to jail. They're still going to tell you they were innocent and it was all a witch hunt, a political stunt or something. This is how it's going to go. These people they're not going to come forward and admit their crimes. They're not going to come forward and admit their crimes. That's not going to happen. They're going to deny it all the way and never stop denying it. We now have Carter Page coming out and saying that the FBI ruined my life. The FBI ruined my life. Yeah, they're ruining a lot of people's lives right now and trying to ruin the country if they can. But it's not going to work. But yeah, Carter Page has some real legitimate grievances. And I would think civil lawsuits that he can file. I mean, they did pretty much destroy his career. I mean, a Title I FISA search warrant, and then his name comes out in the dossier. All this stuff happens. As it turns out, they have no evidence to prove any of it. I mean, they destroyed the man's career. And he says his life. Maybe his life is his career. Who knows? But, I mean, it's obvious that this guy has been destroyed. And all for nothing. He did nothing. I mean, I assume he's got civil lawsuits filed or is planning on filing them or what have you. He certainly has an open and shut case, I would think. There's no doubt. I mean, and I assume he's one of the people suing BuzzFeed. I mean, they're the ones who released the dossier that had his name in it. And whoever was responsible for putting his name in there, and that's probably Mr. Halper was responsible. It was Halper who's the one who first tipped off British intelligence about Carter Page. Hey, this guy's giving a speech in Moscow. He's talking to these people. He's talking to these people. Even though, as it turns out, there's no evidence whatsoever that he spoke with a bunch of the people that he was accused of speaking with. And even if he did, I mean, I don't know that any of that was a crime. Carter Page, I think, has a very strong case. And we'll see. Maybe he's waiting for it all to play out. But I would think he has a very strong case. And let's not forget something else that we were just, learning. That, that makes us a little skeptical, is that we learned about this guy, Ed Cox. Ed Cox being the son-in-law of Richard Nixon. Ed Cox married Richard Nixon's daughter. I think her name was Patricia. And he is the one who's been, fingered as pretty much the guy who brought Papadopoulos and Carter Page into the Trump campaign. And he is saying that the reason Carter Page was brought in the Trump campaign is because Carter Page asked Mr. Cox to get him into the campaign. And this is based on the fact that apparently when John McCain was running for president, Ed Cox was handling his New York state. He was the chair of John McCain's campaign in the state of New York. And at that time, he got Carter Page to be an energy consultant for the McCain campaign in 2008. So Carter Page was plucked by Ed Cox to be a part of the 2008 John McCain presidential campaign, and he was an energy consultant. So when it came around for Trump running for president, and Cox was again named to be the co-chair or the chair of the Republicans in New York for Donald Trump, he again reached out to Carter Page, or Carter Page reached out to him, is what he's saying. So it's just interesting that we have that going on. It's something we need to keep in mind, that there's another John McCain sort of relationship there. And that's why a lot of people are skeptical of Carter Page, amongst other reasons. So, I was expecting to see Nune this morning on Maria Bartiromo, but he wasn't on. But Goodlatte was on there, and it was a pretty good interview. And there's just a couple things I picked up here. First of all, he's saying that Peter's Been Stroking Us is going to be testifying on Wednesday. And he said that what's going to happen there is going to be more like a deposition. And so it is going to be closed session, because they're going to be talking about classified information and various other things. So the Wednesday deal with Peter's Been Stroking Us is going to be closed session, and they're going to be treating it as a deposition. So he said that once they finish these depositions and finish with a lot of these witnesses that they've been interviewing that we've not been seeing, he says at some point when they get to the point in the investigations, they are going to begin having open hearings. Once they've got all the information and all the facts from these people in closed sessions doing these, I guess, depositions is how they look at them, then they are going to start scheduling open hearings. So we are going to get to see all these people that we've been talking about, Strzok and Page and Lynch and all these people, are Rice, and all of them eventually are going to find themselves in open hearings. That's the plan that Goodlatte has. Hopefully that will happen, because these people do need to be testifying in open hearings. Well, we have, of course, Arizona Senator, who's a retiring Senator, Jeff the Flake. He's saying that he's going to block confirmation of Trump's judges until Congress can vote on Trump's tariffs. Now, this guy, whew, hopefully they can put enough pressure on him to shut this guy down. I mean, he's only got a few months left in the Congress anyway, and I guess he feels he's going to obstruct into the last minute. But this, there's other pressure that can be brought on Flake. I mean, he's going to have to do something after he leaves Congress. He's going to do something, I would assume, in the private sector. I don't know. But, I mean, this can't be good. I mean, people just don't like it when you just say, I'm going to be an obstructionist just to be an obstructionist. And when you're blocking judges, which is important to a lot of more conservative people. And this is the whole reason that McConnell decided to have him not take the long break in August to get all these judges confirmed. One of the reasons. So now he's got Jeff Flake saying, "Hey, I'm just going to block all those judges and until we have a vote on the tariffs, because a lot of them don't like the tariffs." But Jeff Flake is an idiot because we're going to win the tariff war. We're going to win the war. It's very simple. China and Europe and Mexico and all these countries, they sell a lot more to us than we sell to them. Therefore, they're the ones who will hurt the most. And we have a much bigger, stronger, more diverse economy, which will play another factor. Those two factors will guarantee that we win these trade wars. We have an $800 billion deficit. If people will just allow Trump to work his magic, they will see that these other countries, including China, will all capitulate. They will all capitulate. They will. It's how things work. Jeff Flake is screwing millions of American workers who will benefit when we finally do something about this trade deficit. And I don't know that Trump's trying to bring it to zero, but at $800 billion a year, if he could cut it in half, that would be another $400 billion worth of economic activity that stays within the United States. And that translates into jobs and higher wages. And it levels the playing field. Yes, we are getting screwed in trade. We have been for a long time. And Trump's standing up. And that's standing up for American workers. Republicans, Democrats, independents, you name it. And they're smart enough to know it. Many Democrats have been waiting for a Democrat to come along and stand up and be as firm as Trump has been. This is a big Democrat issue. The trade issue is an issue that has largely been one that Democrats have been crying and complaining about the trade imbalances, and that we need to get tough on China and eliminate these trade deficits or lower these trade deficits. Here you have a Republican president doing that. And these Democrats didn't just suddenly go stupid. They understand exactly what it is that they're looking at. And I certainly hope that whatever pressure they can bring on Jeff the Flake over there in the Senate, that they bring that pressure, blocking these judges. I mean, this guy is just horrible, man. Absolutely horrible. I don't know, man. Jeff the Flake, Senator Magoo. I mean, what's wrong, Arizona? Come on, Arizona. Get with the program, man. Please, don't give us another Jeff Flake after he's gone. No more Senator Magoos. Give us a real conservative or libertarian or something from Arizona. Please. Saudi Arabia has now officially lifted the ban on women driving. It has been lifted. Well, thank God. Jesus, it's the 21st century, man. For all those years. Now, my dad used to have to go over to Saudi Arabia for GE a lot. And he would talk about, how their trash pickup was like goats. Goats walking up and down the street. This was back in the 70s. They've come quite a long way. And then they got back into the hard line. But now it looks like this young prince, and I think he talks a lot to Jared Kushner, and I think Kushner has been leaning on him really hard to try to bring Saudi Arabia into the 21st century. And the idea that you would ban women from driving or ban women from doing anything that men can do in any country is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So, congratulations to you women out there in Saudi Arabia. I don't know if I have any viewers in Saudi Arabia, but hey, congratulations. It's about time, and hopefully you'll get all of your rights. All of your rights, because there's still other things that they are banned from doing. And it needs to end, and they don't need to be wearing those crazy headscarves and burqas and that kind of crap. I mean, just be done with it and join the 21st century, man. Well, it looks like Uncle Bob the Executioner has asked the judge for a sentencing date on Papadopoulos, and he's wanting a sentencing date sometime in the September-October range. Yeah, because he wants to be able to give the news media something to talk about around the midterm election time. They want to bring Papadopoulos back up so they can talk about, oh, Papadopoulos, that was one of Trump's guys who was talking to Russians, and now he's going to jail, so that they can play it up as nothing more than Uncle Bob trying to feed his friends in the left-wing media some gristle to chew on around the time of the election. What a lowballer this guy is, man. Absolutely. Whatever reputation this guy had before, Uncle Bob, is destroyed now. And I'm not so sure that at the end of this thing, if we learn that Uncle Bob the Executioner knew all this stuff, and he has to, because he's the one getting all these documents, interviewing all these witnesses, he has to understand that there was a coup. And if we learn and we can prove at the end of all this that Uncle Bob discovered the coup and then he became a part of an extension of the cover-up of the coup, he is criminally liable too. And we should nail his ass to the wall. Uh-oh. Looks like there's been a major business drop-off at the Red Hen. And it looks like that they have set up a GoFundMe. Unfortunately, that's not going well. They're not raising very much money over there at the Red Hen, and they may be out of business soon. Serves them well. The owner, of course, Mrs. Wilkerson, we are learning that she is the cousin of that left-wing nutjob, Meryl Streep. Maybe Meryl Streep will make a $10,000 donation to save her cousin's dying business. On the local ratings there, where they rate the restaurants from 1 to 5 stars, prior to this event, the red squirrel, or the red hen, I guess I'll call it the red hen. The red hen had 4.5 stars, which is pretty good. Today, they are sitting at 2.5 stars. They lost 2 stars just for that crazy, crazy thing that they did. I mean, as a business person, you got to wonder what she's thinking. I mean, even if you really hated Trump and hated his supporters and hated Sarah Sanders, if you're a business person, you know, you would think twice. You go, yeah, I'd like to throw her out, but I'm a business person, and, you know, if I throw her out, how many people come in my restaurant and spend money here are Republicans? Well, maybe she thinks because where she's located, maybe not that many, I don't know. But, oh, and by the way, I said yesterday that this was in D.C. I've been corrected by 2 or 3 people in the comment section, by the way. It's actually the Red Hen that's located in Virginia. Virginia, not D.C. So you probably don't want to go to the one in D.C. and try that, because apparently they have all sorts of discrimination laws. No, it's the one in Virginia. They own the Red Hen in Virginia. That's the one we're talking about. The Red Hen in Virginia. Now, someone else made a good comment. I can't remember who it was. It's pretty funny. He was suggesting other tactics that you could use to try to screw with them a little bit. And, of course, I was saying, you know, go tie up a table and just drink tea all night or whatever. But he suggested something else that's even funnier. He suggests that you go in with, you know, just wearing your regular clothes, but, you know, maybe bring along a MAGA hat or a MAGA t-shirt or something like that, and get a whole group of people. Like, get one of them big tables. You put like 2 or 3 tables together. Get about 15 or 20 people, and then order up a big old spread of food. As much food as you can order. Order a lot of stuff, right? And then sit there and get through about 3/4 of your meal when you're just about stuffed. Then go into the bathroom and put on your MAGA shirt or MAGA hat. And then come back out and sit down at the table and see if they throw you out before they bring you the bill after you've already eaten all that food. So you've eaten all that food, and then you change into your MAGA shirt, your MAGA hat, and then they throw you out. And hopefully they didn't have time to give you the bill first. If they throw you out, they can't make you pay, right? So, hell, you might as well go ahead and enjoy the free dinner. So that's a good suggestion. You might try that as well. Anything you can do to have a little fun and even the score. Nothing wrong with that. All's fair in love and war. Well, the dumbass of the week, of course, is not new to TowerGate. She's I believe a 4-time, maybe 5-time loser. And, of course, the biggest loser is a big winner on the dumbass of the week. You have to be a really big loser to be the winner in dumbass of the week. And there's no bigger loser, really, than Mad Max. Mad Maxine Waters, she's at it again. And so she goes on MSNBC, and Mad Max says that People should keep harassing Trump administration officials and Trump supporters at stores, restaurants, gas stations, and that should be the new reality for the United States of America? Turn on them, harass them until they tell the president, no, I can't hang with you. You know, even there's enough sane people, including Democrats and lots of independents, that when they hear something like that, they just know it's wrong. No, Mad Max, that's not what America has ever been or should ever be, is a place where, because of your political views or who you voted for president or what administration you serve in, that people should then have the right to harass you, attack you in public because of your political views. I mean, there's a time and place to have your political debate and discussion. But I kind of think it's some sort of a legal violation, because, I mean, you have the right not to be harassed by people, right? I mean, there is a such thing as called harassment. I mean, if you harass somebody enough, I mean, they can go to the cops and get a restraining order or something. But no, this should not be the new reality for the United States of America. And just the fact that that insanity came out of her vacuous head means that there's a lot of people watching MSNBC who have to be sitting there, even Democrats, independents, and going, you know, I don't know, man. This Democratic Party, man, they're so far gone now. Because, no, even though I don't like Republicans, I don't like Trump or whatever, no, we really should not be harassing people at the gas pump, in the grocery store. Is that what we want? Do we want to have a society where everywhere we look and turn, that everybody's attacking everybody for their political beliefs? Because, I mean, that works the other way, Maxine. We could do that to Democrats. Republicans could go out and just start attacking people because they got an Obama sticker on their car or a Hillary t-shirt or something. I mean, if you want to play it that way, all's fair, right? If that's what Maxine Waters is saying, is that the new reality for the U.S. is that we should be able to attack and harass one another in public when we're going about our lives because of who we voted for, what we believe. No sane, reasonable person, Democrat, Republican, or Independent, is going to find that to be a very reasonable, rational position to take. No one wants to live in a country like that. No one wants to see that. It's not what this country has ever been about, nor do people want that to be what this country is about. That is a loser. That is a big, fat loser. And Mad Max is a big, fat loser. And that's why she's our dumbass of the week for, like, I don't know, the fourth or fifth time since I've been doing this. She's probably won it more than anybody, maybe next to Clinton, the Rotten Reverend. The Rotten Reverend's probably got 6 or 7 dumbasses of the week. But Mad Max is probably a close second. But, yeah, I mean, the fact that she would go on MSNBC and, you know, I got to think that the Democrat leadership and even Democratic donors and people like that, I'm not talking about, you know, in Washington. I'm talking about Democratic leaders around the country in, like, Missouri and you know, North South Dakota, you know, Arkansas, Ohio, Pennsylvania, places like that where there's a lot of sane, normal people who are Democrats. I mean, they have to be cringing when they see this. I mean, they have to be making the calls like, someone tell Maxine Waters to shut the hell up, especially in an election year. Why do you want to send her out on TV? I mean, she's a gift. I hope she keeps doing this. I hope she keeps on doing this. I hope she goes out tomorrow and the next day and goes on every network, and I hope they cover this everywhere, and I hope they do try to adopt this policy, because believe me, this is the kind of thing people will look at and get sick of really quickly. And you know, you want to talk about sabotaging your chances for winning seats in Congress. I mean, this is the type of stuff that will just destroy you. I'm glad she's doing it. I hope she keeps doing it. But it's a head scratcher, man. It really is. It's a total loser. There we go. Dumbass of the week, Maxine Waters, once again. Back to Paul Sperry. Of course, Paul Sperry is telling us about Sally Moyer. She was the agent who was outed by Mark Meadows a couple days ago. She is agent number 5, who's having an affair with agent number 1 or number 2 or whatever. And of course, they got a picture of her. Now they know who she is. Someone went and put a camera in her face. She doesn't talk. She just looks at you. She's kind of a crazy-looking liberal, just like you expect all of these liberal women to look. They're, you know, just got a lot of problems. She looks like she needs an oil change. in her hair. She looked like she may need an oil change. She's got a lot of issues anyway. But it appears that Sally Moyer is a registered Democrat. But you're going to love this one. We were told that she worked, the reason they couldn't give her name was because she worked for counterintelligence. That turned out to be a lie. She doesn't work for counterintelligence. She is the top person at the FBI's National Security Law Branch. The National Security Law Branch of the FBI. And her position was a position that gave her the authority to tell FBI agents who were investigating the rotten Reverend Clinton which evidence from her devices they would be able to use and which ones they could not use. She was the gatekeeper. She was the gatekeeper over there at the FBI National Security Law Branch, and she is the one, a hardcore anti-Trumper, and she's the one that she was like, F Trump, this and that and the other thing, loves Hillary. She, in her position at the FBI, was able to have the authority to tell other FBI agents investigating the rotten Reverend Clinton what evidence from the devices that they had that they could use or not use. Oh my goodness gracious, man. They just need to clean out that entire, just FBI, they just need to start the entire top layer of top level people. They just need to clean every one of them out. But, I mean, you can't do it. They're government employees. You got to fire them one at a time. And it takes 5 years to fire one of them because of all the processes they have to go through. Once you get in, it's nearly impossible to get them out. That's the problem we face. That is the problem we face right there. You cannot get rid of these people. So anyway, that is a major development. And based on that, this entire investigation, it wasn't an investigation at all. And now we know why they didn't look at any of that stuff on the rotten Reverend Clinton's Blackberries and devices. Because Miss Moyer, Sally Moyer, told the FBI agents she made the call that they could not look at this stuff. Man, you talk about the fix being in. My goodness. So, Devin Nunez says that the DOJ and the FBI has until 5 o'clock p.m. on Monday. So, I guess the last word we heard on this was yesterday. We heard Paul Ryan's assistant, or Paul Ryan, the woman who speaks on behalf of Paul Ryan, I guess some kind of an assistant to him, said or put out a statement saying that they had gotten 1,400 documents, a lot of the ones they requested, but some of the things are still outstanding, and that they were going to offer a little more time to get these, and they thought that was a reasonable request. But today, you've got Devin Nunez firing off a letter stating that they've got till 5 o'clock p.m. tomorrow, Monday, which would be today, you're watching the video on Monday, 5 o'clock on Monday, to turn over the documents that will reveal when spying on the Trump campaign began, what the spies were doing, how many spies there were, how much they were being paid, and how they were being paid. So he wants all this information on these spies, informants, whatever you want to call them. Now, after Nunez, after this pops up, and we get this on the news wire, then we get a story that pops up after that from Catherine Herridge of Fox News. And Catherine Herridge of Fox News is reporting that they responded to Devin Nunez by sending him a letter back saying that they sent a classified letter to Congress, which would mean Nunez, Goodlatte, Gowdy, they all got it. In this letter, essentially admits that they had confidential human sources. It's plural, confidential human sources. Because they don't come out in the letter and deny. They don't come out in the letter and say, okay, well, you request information on informants or spies or confidential human sources or what they call them. Oh, we don't have any. There weren't any. There were none. That's not what they say in the letter. What they say in the letter is that you've requested this information on confidential human sources, and so we have referred that to the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence, who is Dan Coats. And of course, Dan Coats was in the Congress. He was a Republican from Indiana. Indiana voted really, really big time for Trump. Really, really heavy Trump state. And I don't know about Dan Coates, where he is. He's anti-Trumper, neoconservative. I mean, I really don't know. He seemed kind of like a moderate Republican to me. He was in Congress for a long time, but kind of a quiet dude. But he is the DNI right now. And it looks like that the FBI DOJ has sent the letter to him to let him decide what to give Nunez and Goodlatte and Gowdy in regards to confidential human sources, spies, informants, whatever you want to call them. But it's funny that in this letter, back to Nunez, they refer to confidential human sources, plural, which suggests that there's more than one. And I think we know there's more than one because we know what happened. If you look at the timeline and you see that in the month of May, Michael Caputo had 2 visits from this Henry Greenberg, this Russian guy who turns out to be an FBI informant. He met once with Roger Stone, so that's 3 attempts to give them information. We have Mr. Halper trying to work Papagalopoulos based on something he says that Mr. Mifsud told him, who's not a Russian either. He's from Malta. He's a Maltese guy. But the interesting thing that you should note about all of this, and because they're trying to play semantics, oh, it was an informant into the campaign to try to investigate Russians. Here's the problem with that, and this is what Nunez and Goodlatte and Gowdy and anyone else with common sense is looking at. It's going, wait a minute. The problem with all that is that it wasn't Papagalopoulos, it wasn't Roger Stone, it wasn't Michael Caputo who were out there looking, searching, digging, inquiring about Russians or getting dirt on the rotten Reverend Clinton or on Democrats or anything else. They weren't the ones out looking, excavating, asking, pressing, trying to get this. No, that's not what happened. These individuals, call them what you like, spies, agent provocateurs, whatever, they were coming to Trump campaign people, not the other way around. It was Misfit, according to Papagalopoulos, who came to him and said, hey, the Russians got dirt on Hillary. It was this Mr. Greenberg that came to Caputo and Stone and said, hey, I can get some information on dirt on Hillary. Do you want to cut a deal, a couple million, whatever, I'll give you the information. So-and-so's got the information or whatever. It was not members of the Trump campaign team who were out looking for this stuff. It wasn't Donald Trump Jr. or Kushner or Manafort who were reaching out to those people who were at the Trump Tower meeting to give them dirt. It was Mr. Goldstone who emailed Trump Jr. and said, hey, I got this Russian lawyer. She's got dirt on the rotten Reverend Clinton. Let's have a meeting so that this Russian lawyer can give you the dirt she's got on the rotten Reverend Clinton. Now, anybody in any political campaign would say, yeah, you got dirt on my opponent? Sure, let's see what you got. You know, any campaign would do that. But the important thing to note here, and the reason why this is not going to fly from the DOJ and the FBI, Rodenstein and Wray and all the rest, the reason none of this is going to fly is because it wasn't people on the Trump campaign who were out looking and digging, trying to unearth these things, get these things, develop these sources. Hey, can you get some stuff on Russia? Can you get some stuff on rotten Reverend Clinton? Blah, 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 blah. That's not what happened. In every single case, it was someone who came to someone in the Trump campaign, came to them. And we were told early on these were Russians or people with connections to Russia. But now we find that there really weren't people who were Russian or connections to Russians or whatever. We're finding that their connections were to American and British intelligence. They were people working for American and British intelligence who were coming to Trump campaign members and trying to give them dirt on the rotten Reverend Clinton. That is the problem with this whole thing. And that's why Nunez ain't going to let go. And that's why we're going to blow the whistle on these perps and hang them high. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys have a good Monday. And we'll see how things work out. Be back tomorrow. Bye.